In this video, you will be able to relate the retrograde planets with your birth chart, step by step. In the last video, we have discussed about Saturn in the 5th house of the horoscope. In this video, we are going to talk about how we can relate our birth chart with the retrograde planets. No, this video is not about the effects of retrograde planets in your birth chart. We have a separate playlist for it. This video purely talks about how we can relate the retrograde planets in our birth chart. So keep watching. Namaste and welcome to Pramanik Astrology channel. I'm your host Prasad Mahazani. Help you raise your vibrations and become your true self. If you have any question, ask me on Instagram. Add me at Pramanik Astrology. DM me. I read all the DMs and I try to reply to almost all the DMs. If you have any question, you can also comment to the YouTube videos in a comment section. I read all the comments and I try to reply to all the comments. So before we start our videos, let me tell you, if you are looking for effects of retrograde planets, this video is not for you. We are not going to talk about the effects of Mercury retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde happening right now. No, we are not going to talk about that. We are going to talk about how you can relate these retrogression of the planets with your birth chart and can look out for the possibilities in your own birth chart. Before we start our video, let me tell you there are two types of retrogression. What, Prasad? You never told me that there are two types of retrogression. Yes, there are two types of retrogression. And the first is the retrograde planets in transit. What do I mean by that? Planets are transiting all the time and at some point of time they get retrograde. Just like right now, couple of days back, we have Mercury gone retrograde. Okay, this is a Mercury retrograde in transit. But if somebody is born during 2-3 days or maybe these 2 months, when Mercury is retrograde, he will be having a retrogression of the planet in his natal chart, in his D1 chart. And that is the second type of retrogression. The first is the transit and the second is the planet itself retrograde in your D1 chart. So if you're clear, in this video we are going to talk about the planets in transit and how we can relate these retrograde planets in our birth chart. So let's get started with this. In this video, you will be able to relate the retrograde planets with your birth chart, step by step. First step to understand how the retrogression of planet is relating to your birth chart is go to any software, or if you have software at your computer desk, just go to that software or a website wherever you get your birth chart calculated. Go to that website and cast the chart for right now. You will get some chart, right? This is the first step. You have to go and get the chart for right now. Whenever you are watching this video, just go and put the date, time, place from wherever you are and simply cast the chart for that time. This is the first step. The second step is you have to look for the ascendant. You have to go to your D1 chart and then look for what is your ascendant. Ascendant is your first house. Ascendant is the anchoring point around which all the houses are anchored. First house or ascendant is the Rashi at the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. So go to your horoscope, check what is the number in the first block. Okay, it has to be from 1 to 12. The number represents the Rashi, and that becomes your Lagna Rashi, or that becomes your ascendant sign. What is the significance of that? Once you know the first house, it also sets the foundation for rest of the houses, rest of the Rashis, and also for the lordships. So second step is go to your D1. Right now we have just casted the chart for the timing of right now. Then go to your horoscope. You might be having it on your tab, mobile, PC, laptop, or hard print, wherever it is. Just go to the D1, check the ascendant. Okay, keep that ascendant in mind. Now come to your online chart which you have drawn for the right now. Then go to your ascendant as per your D1 and make that Rashi as your ascendant. Okay, now that will also set the foundation same as you have in D1. What do I mean by that? Suppose right now if you cast the horoscope, it is coming as Gemini ascendant. Now go to your horoscope. Suppose you have Scorpio ascendant. Then what you have to do is you have to come to this chart and you have to make the Scorpio as your ascendant. Yes, this is step number 2. Step number 3 is to look exactly where are the planets placed in. Okay, in our example we have taken the Gemini ascendant and we have Scorpio ascendant in D1. So what we are going to do is we are going to make this as Scorpio ascendant, and now look at the planets right now. Now you will have Jupiter in the first house. Now you will have Rahu in the 8th house. Now you will have the Mercury in the 9th house. Okay, now you will understand what exactly these transiting planets are going through in your horoscope. Okay, this is step number 3. What is the step number 4? Step number 4 is look for the lords. Now we have almost 3 planets retrograde right now. Jupiter is retrograde, Saturn is retrograde, Mercury has also got retrograde couple of days back. Okay, now you have to look for the lordships of the planet. Now we have 3 planets, each planet rules 2 Rashis, so there are 6 houses which are affected, which might get affected by these transit of retrograde planets. Okay, now we have to note down the different signs which might get affected. Okay, so we have 2 Rashis of Mercury, 2 Rashis of Jupiter, 2 Rashis of Saturn. We are going to write them down: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Capricorn and Aquarius. Now you have the idea about what exactly are the areas which might get affected. Now the next step is you have to note down the period for the last time retrogression. What do I mean by that? Mercury, here's the thing about the Mercury retrogression. Mercury retrogression is not always bad. We hear about the Mercury retrograde being bad, that it will cause some problem with your laptops, mobiles. Yes, it does, but at the same time it gives you the opportunity to think about, to contemplate, to meditate and solve the unsolved issues. And what would be those issues? Those are the issues related with the houses ruled by that planet. So Mercury retrograde is not at all bad. You don't have to be afraid of Mercury retrograde. You don't have to get scared of Mercury retrograde. In fact, that is the best place. Now your mind is getting sharp and now you are contemplating and meditating on the things which you need to, and you are going to sort them out during this time. So I love Mercury retrograde. Talking about the Mercury retrograde, whenever there is a Mercury retrograde, it always happens in the same element. If you look at the last retrogression of the Mercury, it was around March, around 10th of March or 7th of March something. It was into the sign of Pisces, the water element sign. Now it is happening into the sign of Cancer, another water element sign. Again in December or November, it is going to get retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. So the retrogression of the Mercury is always happening in the element. So at the beginning of the year, it just sets the tone for the element. This year it happened into the element of water. So throughout the year, it will retrograde into the element of water. 12, 4 and 8. So what you have to do is you have to go back to that date of Mercury retrograde in March. You have to cast the chart for that day and see what was happening with your ascendant. Now you will have an idea, and each retrogression is going to be special and different. Why? Because things are going to change. There may be conjunction of moon when the Mercury retrogression was happening during the first few days. There may be the conjunction of Mars, just like this one, a debilitated Mars conjunct Mercury. This is going to be different from the Mercury retrogression we had in March, okay? But this time around, Mercury retrograde is conjunct the Mars, the debilitated Mars, but guess what? It is aspected by the most benefic Jupiter, okay? But the thing is that Jupiter is also retrograde. So you can go on add the elements and you can draw the conclusions. You can reach out to some conclusion for yourself, not for anybody else. I'm not going to predict anything. I'm just giving you the perspective to look at it. Those who are at intermediate level or at advanced level, they can go to any extent and they can have different approach than what I am sharing here. It's perfectly all right, because I'm just beginning into Vedic astrology. But this will definitely help you to understand what's happening in your life. What is the next step? The next step is to check all these planets from your moon. Yes, this is important because transits are important from moon. There is a lot to talk about transits. It is not just about the moon and lagna. There is whole lot to it, but that is not in the context of this video. So you can look at the transits from the lagna and you can apply all these steps to the transits from the moon. Now you will have to conclude how you would conclude. There may be some transits which are good for lagna, bad for moon, bad for lagna, good for moon. So you have to blend it. So you have to see which one is powerful, which one is going to impact you. And the retrogression which is happening right now of the 3 planets, these are happening mostly into the water element sign. Jupiter is in water element and Mercury retrograde is also in water element. So 2 planets are getting retrograde into water element and 1 is getting retrograde into the fire element. So there is no air element, there is no earth element. So these energies are more going to impact your emotional quotient. It is going to impact you emotionally more than anything else. Okay, so yes, this was my analysis about the retrogression of planet and how you can relate the retrogression of planet with your birth chart. If you want to know more about the effects of the retrograde planets in your birth chart, I have a complete playlist of effects of retrogression of the planets. You can always go and check that. Or if you are starting into Vedic astrology, I have one playlist called How to Get Started into Vedic Astrology. You can go and check these playlist. It will help you go further faster into Vedic astrology. Yes, sending you tons of positive energies, sending you high vibrations. See you in the next videos. Love and peace.